Okay, hopefully we are live. So, hey Jackson, hey Callum, hey Greg, hey Philip, hey Miss Up Girl, hey Leah, hey Alice, hey Susan, hey Kale. Oh, hopefully that's everyone. Probably some more will join as we go, but yeah, welcome everyone. And tonight we are joined by the wonderful Adam of Micro Exotics.
Good evening.
Hey Emma. So hopefully most people in chat will have heard of Micro Exotics, but if they haven't, who are you and what is Micro Exotics?
I'm just a dude who reads wood lice in his bedroom. We set out doing terrariums before they got really big, like small bottle gardens and stuff. And I started keeping isopods for feeders for poison dart frogs a long time ago. Which are dwarf whites and then dwarf purples. And then as I sort of slowly moved out of reptiles when I had my daughter, I wanted low maintenance. Started keeping more isopods. Got hooked by the bug essentially, and just rolled from there. I figured if I was still making terrariums, might as well be breeding my own livestock to put in them. And then from that, I thought I might as well grow the plants, put in them as well. I'm spending too much money at the garden centre, so we started growing the plants as well, and we sort of expanded from a cupboard to a box room, to the spare bedroom, to the spare bedroom in the garage, to the spare bedroom, the garage, and the shed. We just took on a storage unit as well now, so it's slowly just got bigger and bigger.
Getting bigger and bigger. That's awesome though. So I'm gonna be sticking your links in the chat and stuff, but so main focus on that. I mean, that's how I got to is through isopods and stuff, and doing the isopod sort of thing. That sort of isopods definitely the past sort of year or so definitely kind of boomed in popularity. Would you agree with that?
Oh, hugely. When I first started, you could probably only get 6 or 7 different species and morphs, and it's absolutely huge now. I mean, I never ever expected it to blow up as much as it has, and I wouldn't say they're quite on par with spiders, but people really like. They're very easy to keep. They're very easy to keep a lot in a small amount of space. They're very low maintenance. I go through my entire iceberg collection once a week, and then I will check everything all the day when I'm packing the bugs up. So I'll take out all the day. But they're just so easy. They're so low maintenance, and the variety is just. Well, some of the Cubaris species are just so colourful. People really like those, but even the European species, Porcellio, the big Porcellio species, are really impressive. They're just land shrimp. They're really cool. I mean, I think we've got about 104 species and morphs now.
Nice.
With here. Then obviously not all for sale. One of the things I always set out to do, everything we sell on the website has to be captive bred by us. We won't sell anything. Not bred, we won't sell it. Obviously, I've got a lot more species here than I have to say. Just like to get the numbers up to a good size before we start selling them. Some species I've not had much luck with. Others are just really slow breeders. Some are seasonal breeders. You might only get brood once a year, twice a year. But they're great fun. And I'll show you some in a minute.
That's all. I'm just going to say, hey Tron, thanks for that, and also just pinned up. Although it hasn't come up on StreamYard yet, that Steve W has just gifted 5 channel memberships. So cheers for that, Steve. It's gone to Diana, Ian, Scott's Inverts, and Emma, and Al's Arc as well. So they're now channel members for a month as well, courtesy of Steve W. Cheers for that, Steve. That's fantastic. Yeah, that all your Waverley Salt is completely captive bred by you, and that's something that not many sellers necessarily do, especially with some of the isopods. I do see, especially with like Kavaris and stuff, where sometimes people just literally import them in and then they're flipping them straight out. And then people kind of go, what went wrong with my Kavaris? What went wrong with my rubber duckies or whatever? Being cultured properly and given it time to settle and stuff.
Well, that was actually why I decided to do that, because I wanted Cubaris and there was none available at the time. And I did a few imports, and I bought a few more for some friends to make it more worth it. And they came, they turned up alive, and then I sent them out again. By the time I sent them out again, they'd lost half, I'd lost half. I had to refund them the money because it was all on me, and I thought, I really don't want to do it. I'll just buy for myself, and then when we had success with them, they'll babies. Know that they're established. They're not going on a really long trip before they get to you. They're not well caught. They're just a lot more settled. The thing with the Cubaris is they're really slow breeders. I mean, a lot of people want to start with 5 or 10, which I get because they are really expensive. But if you start with 5 or 10, it's going to take you 2 years or so to get a really decent number before you can start selling them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, rubber duckies, I think they're 100. I think 48 of them turn up alive. Obviously, you can imagine it's quite an expensive order. I just thought, well, I can't really be selling these. They're going to die within a day of them arriving. But yeah, once we've got them going, they seem to be doing quite well. I think starting with as many as you can afford is the best bit, and just go for one species at a time. If you try to keep doing import and you buy 10 different species and you buy 5 of each, if you've got 5 animals, yeah, you've probably got a pair in there. If you lose 2 of them, there's a really strong chance you've lost all of one sex and you're left with 3 males or 3 females, and you're not going to get anything. At least start with 10.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's quite good practice as well to buy from, a few different sellers. So you get hopefully different bloodlines coming in and stuff. So it's not all just from one colony. And so I think that's always quite a good thing, because otherwise you start getting that inbreeding going on, and then colony crashes.
And there's enough people now breeding this that just swap someone.
Yeah, that's right. So in terms of that, I suppose I say, do you some people that are like, why isopods? Why do you keep isopods? Sure, you can just go out to the garden and get some wood lice and stuff. What is your answer? Why isopods?
I think I really like just the sheer variety. So many different species. They're all quite different. I mean, some are very similar, but shape, size, habitat, they really do fit pretty much. There's a species for pretty much everything, which is great. When you think there are species out, there are species out, going cool swamp setup. There's pretty much, if you really look, there's a species for every niche. And the one that drew me to isopods first isn't a fancy Cubaris. Something that I believe most people start out with is the zebra isopod. It's a European species. They're black and white, stripy, really cool looking. And they go in loads of different setups. They breed relatively quickly, and they're established quite quickly. And that's what really drew me from culturing them as a live food, the dwarf whites and the dwarf purples and dark frogs. So that next step and go for something a little bit more ornate. I knew the frogs weren't going to eat, but they were cool. And then when I realised how low maintenance they were, I was like, "Oh, I'm fit in this lunchbox. Get another lunchbox out there. I'll fit like 10. Have a little look, see what else I can get." And you just sort of spy keepers know, and keepers know you can keep in a lunchbox if you vent it right. and yeah, it's just sort of spiral. But really, what piqued my interest is when we started to see some of the larger Porcellio species, because these are really perhaps my favourite of all is these guys. Hello.
Ooh, that's what those on the big screen.
Expansus. They're really big. I'm not very good at pointing this. Impressive. If I put my finger next to it, you can kind of get a better idea of the size. Right. My phone is just doing a run around here. Right, cool. Really
Sort of big isopods, big tail, nice and colourful.
Yeah, Expanses about. I haven't got Expanses yet, but they're on my list to get at some point as Expanses.
I tried with them free, and first I had to try slowly. I found like really the Mark
You're cutting up a bit where you've placed your phone. We're losing you a little bit on the audio.
Sorry, I'll put it on. That a bit better?
That sounds a bit better, yeah.
The trick with keeping the big sort of Spanish species is not to miss the enclosure. Is literally I take a pipette of water and we stick it straight in the corner under the substrate and squeeze the water under the substrate. That doesn't create any surface moisture. And it just creates a nice damp corner where they will go if they need to. A lot of these Spanish ones don't like getting wet. So you can get yourself one of these turkey baster from Poundland, just stick it straight in the corner under the substrate and just squeeze the water straight in. And it works really, really well. It's probably one of the best tips I was ever given. Keeping isopods. And that works for all the big Spanish ones, the Greek ones, the big sort of dry Porcellios.
Ooh. Cheers, Callum. Happy has become a channel member. That's cool. Yeah, in terms of the Porcello, probably two of my favourites that recently got the Bolivari and the Werneri.
Yeah, Werneri. Looking nice, flat trilobite looking. Yeah, really cool. Really, really
cool. They're pretty cool. And then the Bolivari is sort of like almost skeletal looking.
That's how I've described them. Yeah, as skeleton isopods. They just look like the bones of an isopod, essentially. Nice and flat, really cool. And they breed really well once you get them going. And there's lots of morphs coming of both of those now. I think the Werneri, they've got someone's bred something called a silverback, which they look like that when they're born, and as they get older, they lose that silverback. But this morph he's created is keeps the silverback, and they're really cool. So yeah, with all the species, we're starting to see mutations pop up, and that's another really cool thing about keeping them is because they breed normally in such volumes. Mutations appear a lot quicker than they would, if you were breeding snakes or you were breeding lizards. You don't see the mutations as quickly, whereas these guys, they'll throw out maybe 100 babies, and it's quite apparent to see a mutation, and you can isolate that quite quickly because normally they hit maturity within 6 months to a year, most species, and you can already be breeding that mutation into the next generation, and you can sort of create your own morph essentially a lot easier than you could, quicker than you could when breeding, which is it's good fun.
Yeah, and you definitely see it along sort of the very popular species like the Porcello laevis and Scabers, and also like Armadillium vulgare and stuff, where there's so many different morphs and even like localities now as well with some of them.
Yeah. And so some people find those in the UK in the garden. Someone sent me from Newcastle, a young girl from Newcastle found a depressum, which this looks very much like a magic potion. Armadillium depressum looks very much like a vulgare magic potion, but it's not. It's a depressant, so it's obviously the same kind of mutation. And she sent that little chap down to me, and he's in with some other depressants at the moment. We've not seen any babies yet. Chances are it's probably we'll just keep them all together, and hopefully the second generation will start to throw out a few more, which would be pretty cool. For the UK found more someone's garden.
Well, I mean, I've certainly I had a colleague at my work, pretty sure, that I found Scaba larva just within one of the animal enclosures at work, sort of thing. It's having news. I look like it's red. Could it be like Scaba larva? I was like, well, it could be, sort of thing.
Yeah,
might grow up, sort of thing. And so, we've got a few people asking. So we've all mentioned about where we're going to see you at a show and stuff. I believe you're going to be at the Taunton show, the Southwestern Invert show, I believe.
Yeah, next weekend. Yeah, we're going to be there on. Well, we'll say we're going to be there on Sunday. I'm going to be there on Sunday. I got a friend of mine who's coming to help. Most of the shows, because I live down in Cornwall, and I run this business on my own. Most of the shows are quite far away. We did one a few years back in Coventry. I think we left at 2 a.m. and we got home at 2 a.m. It was and then obviously you've got to sort everything out the day before. You've got to sort everything out the day you get back. It was a really, really long day. So I will be doing more shows. I will be sticking probably to the southwest. I'll be doing like the one in Bristol in the summer.
Yep.
I'm going to be at the Taunton show. I'm hoping to do Seas next year in Ashford because that's quite close to where my parents live, so I can break the journey up. But yeah, issue I've had for the last few years is I actually still work full time. I work full time nights, and I've got a young daughter, so it's quite difficult sort of getting the time off, not just to do the show, but to do the run up to the show, and then the lead down from the show.
Yeah, because people don't think about just how much effort and how much work goes into actually prepping for a show.
Oh, you could spend a whole day just melting holes in the lids of tubs. Just that's what we start by, or filling them out. You might not sell everything, but you want to take it. You want to offer people the choice. I mean, I'm hoping to take 50 species to Taunton, and I'm just going to do everything in 5s. So if people want to buy 10, they'll just get 2 tubs of 5. But if you just want to buy 5, buy 5. So you're having to bring about 50 species and just cover the table. I'm undecided yet whether we'll take plants or cuttings. I think I might just take a few dry goods, substrates and leaves and that kind of thing, maybe some live moss. But another thing you'll probably hopefully start seeing me at, because I'm going to be leaving my job this year, which I hope my boss isn't watching, leaving my job in July, and I'm going to take August off because my daughter starts school in September, and then come September I'm going to do this full time, which means I've got to push it a lot more. I've got more time to keep up with it all. So yeah, hopefully then that's it. I'll know I have every weekend off. I can book in shows like quite far ahead without having to try and book time off work and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's getting there to the point where I need it to be, where I can drop work and sort of keep focus on it a lot more. It was only ever meant to be a hobby business. I set it up about three and a bit years ago now, and it's just every year it's just got busier and busier and busier, and it's great. I love it. It's what I like doing. So yeah, it's great to be able to actually think about not doing my normal job anymore and just doing this.
I mean, there's a lot of people's dream in some ways, just to be their own boss and to do what they're passionate about and stuff is absolutely fantastic.
That's it. I mean, I've always set this up with a means to eventually do it full time, try and keep overheads down as little as possible. So we run everything from home. We don't have any extra rent to pay. The electricity is my house electricity. We bought a house last year, and I made sure that we had enough space. So the garage I've nearly finished, which is going to be the plant nursery. So a lot of the plants from in here will move downstairs, which will give me a lot more room for more isopods in here. A lot more room to grow more plants downstairs. Then the storage unit, all the dry stock can stay in the storage unit, so I don't have to pay to keep it warm. There's no need to keep it heated and warm and lit. Might as well put it in a storage unit, so that gives me more space. We've got solar panels on the roof, so that brings down the energy costs. So I don't want to be rich, just want to be happy. I could see my
Yeah.
daughter every day after school. She loves helping. You know, she's 4 now, and she loves coming in here and feeding the bugs. Her favourite things are millipedes. She loves millipedes. So got a few more species now for sort of her to play with and have a little go with. So yeah, she likes coming in and helping, which is great.
That's cool. So Steve does ask, can he pay by card at Taunton?
I don't have a card machine, but what I will do at Taunton is I will take PayPal transfer on the spot.
There you go. Cool. And yeah, Karen said that Taunton's just got a bit more expensive than it already was. So he's got to be planning on getting some stuff.
If I will say, if anyone wants anything in particular, just drop me a message beforehand and I'll bring it. And if you want, you can pay beforehand and I'll bring it to the show to collect, or we can just do PayPal transfer on the day or bank transfer on the day. Not an issue.
That's cool. Well, Amazon, what would you suggest that is a pretty but resilient? So a pretty isopod, but a fairly hardy isopod.
Kluge, Armadillidium kluge. They come in several different localities. Most popular being Montenegro. They're just really cool to look at. Orange skirt, grey body, white spots.
They are a stunning one, to be fair, the Kluge. Well, hey Scott, it was Mr. Steve W who gifted the Japan. That's what the full screen.
I'll scare them all off now under the light. They're really hardy. They tolerate a good amount of conditions. Really easy to keep. I mean, I just keep all my isopods all the time, as long as they've got leaves, rotten leaves, and some nice bits of rotten wood. Generally, they're quite happy.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things I find about those was that like almost a lot of them, the less maintenance you do, the better.
Yeah. I think that's what draws people to them, just because they really are. I've been experimenting a little bit recently with. Mr. Kluge on the side there. Come here, mate. I've been experimenting a little bit recently with some of the Cubaris and to try and give them a little bit more of a natural setup because they're smaller.
Oh, yeah.
And what I don't like doing with them is once you get a setup right, really, it's quite scary when you change the substrate.
Yeah, it's quite scary thing. Like, this is doing really well. Even sometimes moving up into a bigger enclosure or whatever. Like with some of them, it's like,
I've lost a few species that way. I thought it was doing really well with them. I thought brilliant. I'll use the same substrate. I move them up to a bigger enclosure, and I've obviously either put too much moisture in, too little moisture in. Wrong. I don't know. So now I try to get to a point, and I set them up properly, and I think that's it. I'm not going to change them again. Just leave them there for now. Doing recently, it seems to work really well for some of the. I don't know if I can't flip this camera around. Can I?
If you tap on it, you can go into settings and then into camera, and you can then change the camera on your phone.
Brilliant. Okay, that's better. So we started putting a little bit of live cushion moss in the corner of the enclosure with a little plant. That was keep the humidity up, and we got some Cubaris caramel in here. Nice. Coming on really nice. We'll be having them on the website soon. There's lots of Mankey running around in the bottom. But this seems to be working really well, and the moss itself seems to grow quite nicely into the tub. The babies can get in there if they need to. I'll just keep the other end a lot drier, and when I add moisture, I add it into the moss directly. It seems to be working really well. Obviously, it does involve having them exposed to a little bit of light, but these are all out of direct sunlight up on the shelf, so they're quite happy up there. Put that back round. Keep it there.
We don't just keep isopods. We've got a lot of other things as well. Keep a lot of millipede species. I'm doing quite well with a few different species of cockroach as well now. I tried beetles. I found them to be very space consuming for what you need for them. Like if you breed beetles, you need a lot of room.
Yeah.
Which I haven't really got. So I'm sticking more towards the isopods, but I do, like I say, my daughter loves millipedes, so we've been doing quite a few of those. One thing we've had a lot of success with is millipedes. Quite excited. On the website in a few weeks. Good site. I haven't actually seen these captive bred before, so I was quite excited when we first started spotting babies. Let's see if we can find some. Oh, here we go.
Oh, look at those.
Central Over species Mozambique, but we've actually got. It's quite dark in here now. Oh, there we go. There's one of ours.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And they're actually coming up to, I mean, these are the adults. If I sort of compare size here, coming up to a good size to sell. I mean, I know these are available, but they are wild caught, so it's nice to be able to offer them captive bred.
Definitely.
And I believe Mozambique are stopping a lot of their animals being exported soon, so this will eventually be the only way to get them. So it's quite nice to see. I think I've spotted about 50 or so in here of various different sizes. There's a bit of a smaller one there. I'm quite happy to produce these this year. And again, the thing with millipedes is very much like keeping an isopod. They just it's like keeping fish. You keep in the tank, you know. You're not keeping the animals. You're keeping the environment. You keep the environment right. All their food's in there. You just add a little bit of supplement. I mean, I go through offer protein once a week. The millipedes, they don't get any protein. They just get a little bit of veg. That's it. Keep topping up the leaves. Hardest part of running this business is keeping up on top of the amount of leaves that I use. That is a job in itself. I mean, we go through bin bag and a half a week just feeding everything in here. It's amazing. You'll fill the tubs up like, you know, quite high. You'll come back a week later and you think, where's it all gone?
Definitely is. It's you know, I mean, like for me, I don't have quite the species you've got, but for me, it's like regular trips to a forest to go and collect a load of leaves and stuff for things.
My partner calls it the weirdo walk, or reverse fly tipping is normally what I look like. I go into the woods with empty Aldi bags. And I come back out with full Aldi bags, and people quite often sort of give you funny looks or stop you asking what you're doing, and I'm just like, well, yeah, leaves. But to the normal person, that's very strange.
Yeah, I'm just after the leaves, and then start collecting the moss as well and stuff and rotten wood, and I'm like, what are you doing?
I use a lot of rotting wood as well. I put it all through the chipper, so try and find the right size stick that I know is going to fit through the chipper, and I'll be walking around the woods kicking stuff, holding 2 Aldi bags because I don't want to make 2 trips. Pick each stick up and squeeze it, see if it's the right. Good, it goes in the bag. If not, I just throw it back on the floor, carry on going.
Yeah, Leah does the same thing. I think that's the thing. When you get into these sort of things, that's one of the things you end up doing is looking a bit crazy. And everyone that I know who keeps these sort of things does, where even in zoos and stuff, you end up being the crazy person, be like, I want that rotten wood.
Wood, yeah.
But
that's something for the future. I mean, a friend of mine has got some land. We've negotiated that I can come on there and collect as many leaves as I want, as much fallen wood as I want. Part of getting the storage unit was to turn it into a little bit more of a processing unit. So I know anyone can go out and get leaves and pick them up, but I find it actually quite difficult. Once all the overgrowth comes back through, it's really difficult to actually find leaves. So do is start stockpiling a lot more leaves, rotten wood. The substrate that I only make it in small sort of like 100-litre batches because that's all the space I've got, and it sells out every website. So I want to the production of that, and that's all part of getting the storage unit, so we can do things on a little bit of a bigger scale. It was more to sort of meet my own demand, but if we can meet somebody else's as well, then that's fantastic.
Yeah, because there'll be people out there that can't get out to collect their own stuff, or perhaps live in areas where, where it's perhaps, mixed in with a lot of pine or whatever, where you don't really want that getting in there and stuff.
Or you don't know what's been used on the area, you don't know
That's it.
Pesticides, or if you've got agricultural runoff coming from fields around, coming into the forest. So where we've got, it's a really good site. I have been using the leaves there. Everything's sort of really enjoying it. I'd imagine the rotting wood will run out there within a couple of years if I keep taking it at the rate that I'm taking it. Find another site for that. But and another thing, I'm going to look at making some flake soil as well, because I find that's really good additive.
I was about to ask about flake soil, whether he's going to be doing like that perhaps on a bit of a scale.
Yeah, I know Richard at Richard's Inverts has got a fantastic recipe, which I've had to go a few times with on a smaller scale. I use it works really, really well.
Yeah, same here. I use his recipe to make my first batch of flake soil.
Yeah, it's a brilliant recipe. I tried a few others beforehand, and I ended up just with that mouldy. It's difficult because it does have to be kept at high temperatures. So you either got to heat a room or make a load in the summer when it's warm.
Yes.
Depends how much you need. If you bring beetles, then you need a lot. But for isopods, I find it's a good way of adding that nutrition into the soil, into the substrate. So you don't really need like 100% flake soil, but like 25% flake soil, it's quite a good balance. Once you've got your leaf litter in there, and you put a bit of worm castings in. Depending on the species, we might add in some lime granulate as well, a bit of moss.
Okay.
But yeah, we've sort of been tweaking it a little bit, and we found quite a happy medium. But one thing I've found that's really, really important is to freeze it, because the amount of times I've been a little bit lazy and I've just took some dry leaves out of a bag that I've not frozen, chucked them in with a culture, and next thing I know, there's a micro centipede in there, which isn't a threat in itself, but if you've got two in there and they decide to breed, they will eat. You think, why are there no babies in here? I've had this for years. Why are there no babies? All of a sudden, this centipede runs across the tank. You're like, well, that is why there's no babies in there. So now we absolutely everything that we use. I'm not at a stage where I can freeze everything that we sell. So we've just started putting labels on everything, freeze for 24 hours or ideally 48 hours before use. Otherwise I'd need some pretty big industrial freezer to go through it. But that's one thing I think is really important to stress to anyone. And recently I've been sort of contacted by a few people working in conservation about non-native springtails, and I feel like because we are selling so many isopods and a lot of the species that we sell will live within the UK, I think it's quite important to start educating people on safe substrate disposal. I think we should really people should be freezing their substrate or baking their substrate before throwing it away. If you're keeping things like Kluge or Maculatum or any of the Morsa levis, Scaba, they will live in our country quite happily. If you just throw a tub of substrate out in your garden, there's a good chance there's some left alive in there. There's still Mancay in there that you've missed. They could very well population. So I think it's a good idea and it's good practice. It's something we're going to start preaching a bit more. Is safe substrate disposal. I think it's going to be quite important with the hobby, because what we don't want is non-native species appearing. We don't want bans. We don't want it to affect the hobby. We don't want to be given a bad name because we like keeping isopods. We don't want to ruin our own ecosystem. So I think it's quite a good idea to start preaching that a bit more.
No, definitely. And it's something that goes, similar to other things like the amphibian hobby, where it's sort of talk about, how you get rid of your, substrate or even the water from the amphibian hobby because of the whole risk of chytrid fungus going around and stuff. Obviously, slightly different, but yeah, we don't want to risk non-natives getting into our ecosystems and, could cause quite a big problem potentially. And stuff, could outcompete native species So that's not something that
it might not be a lifetime, but yeah, for sure. In down the line, you see it happening all over the world and other places, can't you? With introduced species, and it's not what we want, and we don't want to get the finger pointed at us as well. You know, what people saying that we're irresponsible keepers. It's your fault. So yeah, it's something we've been doing now. Is it goes in the freezer, gets bagged up. We'll take as many as we can out. We'll leave it for a few more days. Put some cucumber on top. Wait for the babies to rise to the top. Take them out. Repeat the process a few times, and then when you're sure you've got 99% of them, bag up the substrate, freeze it for 2 days, and then we use it on the garden.
Yep.
Because I know it's nothing's alive in there then, or nothing that's going to be a threat is alive in there. So yeah,
that's it. And then and once it's not, there's no threat in there. It'll be really, really good compost essentially. So because that's what these things do. They break it all down and create compost.
Yeah, that's what they are. Of course, they just break down all the stuff that nothing else wants to eat. They make it usable for plants. Insect fast is quite weird. We're definitely seeing. I've been using it in the terrain as a natural fertilizer.
Yep,
seems to be working really well because it breaks down quite slowly, but it's quite nutrient rich. Literally, you can sprinkle it on top. Once you've watered it in, it disappears, and it's completely natural. There's no chemicals in it. Safe, and it's a really good way of keeping a small terrarium fresh. Sprinkle of isopod droppings in there. Happy days.
That's cool. So you recommend, something like the Kluger is a nice, colourful, but sort of relatively easy species to keep. What sort of species would you class as kind of like, people have kept perhaps a few of the, beginner ones, easier ones? What would be the next sort of ones that are a bit more sort of intermediate and need a little bit more attention to?
Some of the larger Porcellio species. Some people say they're harder than Cubaris, but I think if you get the setup right, so things like Magnificus, Hoffmann-Seggi, Expansus, Bolivari that we talked about earlier on, they do need a little bit more care than like Levis and Scaba, Armadillum maculatum, some of those species. I'd class those as intermediate species, so they do need a little bit more care. Some of the Cubaris, again, probably intermediate species. Panda King, White Shark, despite how expensive they were a few years ago, they are phenomenally quick breeders. Like, they really are. I've sent out about 300 in the last few weeks. If I was to show you my tub, you won't believe how many actually. And I expect the price of these. I will be dropping the price on these again soon because they don't need to be expensive anymore. You won't actually believe how many are in this tub.
White Sharks are definitely ones that are on my list at some point to get White Sharks because they look absolutely amazing.
Right. So if I just move, doesn't look like there's a lot in here. They seem to inhabit the very top few centimeters. Let's move this bit of food, move this leaf here. Literally riddled with them. And it's because I've disturbed the tub today, because I took a load out. But there are hundreds in here, and these are great. I think these are really cool micro species. I mean, they're full grown. Okay.
Yeah, they're amazing.
But they're not hard. I mean, they were really, really expensive. I think when I bought them last year, they cost me about 250 quid for 10. And when they turned up, they were and I just left them alone. For a year. I didn't think they were doing much, and then I had a little flick around. I was like, loads of it. They seem to like it quite wet. They're not very showy. They do spend most of their time under the leaves on the very top layer of soil. But once you've got a lot of them, there's always some out. They're definitely pretty good.
Leah, they were the Cabarrus White Sharks, Leah. Were you thinking they were rubber duckies, Leah?
Duckies are much bigger. Much bigger. Duckies are. I'll show you some duckies.
I mean, well, the ducky's always the one that everyone thinks about when they think Cabarrus, isn't it? Is the rubber ducky.
They are difficult. I found they were difficult. I didn't have much luck with them, and then I set them up their current setup, and they've exceeded my expectations. I try to only sell a sensible amount early on when I was breeding stuff. I sold too many a few times, and it takes too long for your population to recover.
Yeah.
So I try to sort of harvest sustainably now without. I don't want to run out myself. You want to keep good breeding stock back. You want to keep enough young back that if your adults do all belly up, you've got enough to grow on and continue without having to buy them in again. My motto's always been only buy it once. Not always the case. If you can only buy it once, then you don't have to keep buying it in. Here's ducks. Again, these guys seem to they like all areas of the tub really. People might think it's a bit dry, but we've got it quite wet underneath, and there's a good few hundred in here now of all sizes. But there's get an adult one out here. Give you an idea if that's as big as they get. And they are cool. You can see why people really like them. They do have that little orange beak on a yellow face, and they do look like a rubber duck. Unfortunately, I can't zoom this camera in without making it blurry.
And the thing, when you see the you can see where kind of people really, really like them because they do have that kind of, almost classic kind of cute looking face on them kind of thing, and just the colours on them.
And I think that's the same with a lot of Cabarrus. They do have that cute little face, and they do spend a lot of their time hiding. They're not the showiest of species. They're just very sought after, but they're very cool. They're very cool.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, I've only got a few rubber duckies, and I don't see them all the time. I see my lemon blues a bit more. And what's really cool is when I see the Manco, the lemon blues, just how bright and yellow they are when like they're first born and stuff. It's like, wow.
Yeah, they're a fantastic species. In fact, I actually think they're cooler than the duckies. I also really like Marinella, but if I am honest, they're not something I have had a huge amount of luck with. I was having some luck with them. Tub style I had them, they were escaping. They were climbing inside them. So I switched to a new tub. I think
And you're breaking up again.
fan of my laptop. So I changed the setup because the babies were escaping because I was doing well with them. And then when I changed the setups, all of my colonies just crashed. I think I've got some tricolours left, and I've got some ember bees who have just had some babies, but I don't have as many as I started with for sure. So,
that's kind of heartbreaking because I don't even know. I've never looked into how much those ones cost, but like see plenty of pictures of them going like they are stunning, like the ember bees and the scarlets and stuff and the tricolours. But
there are some breeders in the UK who are having a real good those. Look at Marinella. There's a lady on Facebook called Nicole, and she's having great success. Yeah, and some of the flights as well, which she's having success with. And look at what she's been doing. I think the trick to those is they seem more like it. They benefit from a little bit like it closure. So that prospect of
You're breaking up again.
images yeah, which can be a bit harder to achieve. I need to get some better. What about now?
That might be right. We'll give it a go. Ryan says, do your Hoffmannsegger Yetis breed true?
Yep, they do. Well, we actually isolated the morph here from 3 or 4 individuals from our Hoffman's group. Mic round again.
Oh, look at those.
There's a few hundred in here. And yeah, they breed true. No, these are all produced in this tub. I believe there's one normal in here, but I think that's from a female. I moved over from the normal tub, but you can see, yeah, all Hoffmannsegger Yeti. They're really impressive. And these are the largest terrestrial species. And you can see why in terms of the length. Really long uropods. Really long antenna. In all white. They're really cool. I'm really proud of these. And that's not, I haven't got the patience to sit through here and sort all the normal ones out. So these definitely breed true. But I believe it to be a recessive gene, because if you were to throw a normal in there, I think you would probably start getting a lot of normals through. But yeah, hopefully that one answers that one for you.
That's cool. Well, Luke Amipo has asked, does anyone have Kibaris Jupiter? I don't.
Yes, I've got Jupiter.
They're another one that looks absolutely stunning. I mean, all the Kibaris look stunning, to be fair, especially when you get the colourful ones.
Like, the not so colourful ones are pretty cool. My favourite Kibaris is the Kibaris Arthur. Small, very small ducky. It's about half a game thick, the white. They're almost like a tricolour, blue, orange, black. Really cool. And they're not something I've seen. I bought them a few years ago. I'm not really sure for I got the result in last year. Just letting you know back up, but they're quite and so there's a quite nice. Formerly working Baris, Mitsuri, like a different posh nice. We've got the great tiger.
He said that Jupiter are the most difficult of the Kibaris to keep. I don't know if that's. Do you agree with that?
I can't imagine them to be more difficult than any other. I think as long as you get set up right. I've had Jupiter in my collection before. They were one of the first that I bought. I've had them in my collection for 2.5 years, and I bought 10 and still got 10. They've bred. The adults have died. They've grown up. They bred. The adults have died. I just can't see them in larger numbers. But a mouse We moved in the room. It's only now that I'm starting to see everything really settling.
Yep.
Well, I had them last time. They were doing really well. Same with Ambers. I was doing really well with Cubaris Amber. I had turned my 10 into about 70. I was getting ready to sell them. And we moved, and I lost 75% of them overnight, just in one night. And now I can't seem to get producing it. They're slowly dwindling off. I've still got about 20, 25 or so, but I haven't seen babies from them. I think it's just about getting your conditions right. I think what I've been doing with the rubber ducks and caramels up here with the live moss and the live plant seems to be working really well. So I'm going to be buying a few more when it gets a bit warmer and setting up. I don't want to put 10 in this large setup. I think I'll buy sort of 30 or 40, chuck them all in, and fingers crossed they'll do the same. If the temperatures are all the same on the shelf, one can only hope. Right, I've just
Hey, Russell. Hey, Man's Garden.
Rogue Hoffman singing yesterday. I'm just going to turn it. What's the show there? Right.
That's right. I was still getting a little bit of a break-up in your audio sometimes. So, so obviously, also nowadays, you get a lot of people that want to keep isopods as part of sort of live planted setups, as cleanup crew in other, in with other animals and stuff. What are some of the species that you would recommend for that, or do you just not recommend that at all?
A species that does really well in live plant setups, it's quite non-invasive and just lives in the soil, is dwarf purple woodlice. Really small. They don't breed as fast as dwarf whites, so they don't overtake the enclosure, and they almost aerate the soil, and they're tolerable of it for quite a wide range of conditions. Again, it depends what you're keeping in the setup. I think if you're keeping something that's really delicate and prone to getting stressed, just stick with some of the smaller species. If you've got something that's a bit more robust, you could go with some of the largest, but it all depends on what you're keeping. If you've got a bearded dragon, there aren't many species that are ideal to go in a bearded dragon bio setup. If you're keeping poison dart frogs, you don't want big Porcellio levis running all over their backs every time they come down to feed. You just got to get the balance right and look at what you're keeping, look at the environment, and look at the range of isopod species that are out there, and have a look at their, do they breed fast? Do they have a high protein requirement? Do they need high humidity, or are they tolerable of a bit of a dry setting? It's a case by case thing there. I know for a lot of the bigger bio setups, people like to use Bruinosis, and they breed really, really fast.
Yep.
But I've never seen it myself, but I've put pinky mice in with them, and they've shredded it. And I've heard stories of them. I don't know whether they would attack something alive, but I've heard stories of people just finding their animal skeleton in the tank. The same with Porcellio laevis and stuff like that. So,
especially the dairy cow morph, it's like
you see how quickly they'll go for protein. So then if you've got some, also I found not many animals really like them to eat. They're quite hard shelled, and there aren't many things that'll eat them readily. Unless you're going for the really small species. Like I found poison dart frogs really do like dwarf purples because they move quicker than the whites, and they're obviously a lot softer bodied than some of the larger isopods. So it would just depend case by case. You want something that's one of my favourites is Cubaris Panda King. They're a little bit colourful. They do breed really well. You get loads of them if you leave them alone. They're not hugely protein hungry. I don't think they're not big either, so they're not going to bother any of your animals. So they go well in most things, I reckon.
Yeah, I have to say the Panda Kings are amazing little Kabara. They're my first Kabaras. Yeah, they're absolutely amazing little ones. So I love the Panda Kings.
Yeah, I think they're easy to keep, and they're quite prolific, and they're just not going to bother anything else. Some of the faster moving bigger species, if you're keeping Lima leaf frogs or something, that's quite rare, and you're trying to breed it, and you want to make a nice bio setup, I would just stick to some of the really like the micro species, like the dwarf purples, maybe dwarf whites.
Yeah, no, that's going to be because something I've certainly seen over the past sort of couple of years or so is people set up as like bioactive setups and stuff with Lavis Lavis dairy cows in. I'm like, no, thank stick the dairy cows in that. Let's keep those separate.
If you're looking just to make a nice planted enclosure that hasn't got any larger fauna in it, then they're ideal. They're quite nice to look at. They're quite showy. They're quite prolific. But there are a lot of other species out there that would fit the niche better, I think. Yeah,
definitely. And so, I mean, again, they are fantastic species.
We do a bio pot, which we have a really large culture with Pruinosis, dwarf whites, dwarf purples, and dwarf springtails in there. Just springtails in there, and that is pretty good for most setups. If you're not keeping anything really delicate, I would say.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, Anton. So, what about, because there's always something that people try and do, sort of whether they can do like the bio arid sort of setups and stuff, and people try it all the time with various ones. Are there perhaps some species that would do all right in an arid vivarium, considering obviously it's going to be high heat in an arid vivarium? Like I said, like a bearded dragon, where people try and do it all the time, but that's going to be real high heat with not necessarily huge amounts of humidity all around the place.
Whatever you keep is still going to need somewhere to get its humidity. You can't just keep them in a bone dry setup and expect them to live. They will need somewhere at some point, even if it's just for the shedding cycle, to get that humidity that they need. So you will always need to put something in there, even if it's just a bit of cork bark that you just wet underneath every now and then. But then the other issue is with arid setups, you're not providing a lot of the nutrition that they need, because you'll generally use an arid or sand mix. There isn't much rotting in the way of rotting wood, and obviously if it's dry and it's hot, unless your wood is already well rotten, it's not going to continue to rot in the enclosure, which means it's not going to break down anymore, so they haven't really got anything to eat. So you need to be making sure that you're giving them the right food. I know people have had success with Hoffman Segi, Silvestri. Again, the larger Mediterranean Porcellio species are the only ones that would really do well. There are some desert species coming into the hobby. They're really expensive, and they're not quite at the numbers yet that you would want to put in with, say, a
bearded dragon that might just come up with, oh no,
yeah, 20,
really
30,
40, food.
You don't want them to get eaten. But yeah, give it a bit more time, and I think as we start to learn more, and when we're discovering new species all the time, that's one of the really interesting things about the hobby, is it has actually driven like Southeast Asia. It's like an isopod gold rush. They're all out there trying to find these more and more remote caves to find these undescribed species that are, madder looking than the last. Because there is a demand all over the world at the moment for these species. So it's a double-edged sword. We're discovering species at a faster rate, but we're probably taking them out of the wild at a much faster rate than we would. A lot of these species, people wouldn't have even looked twice at. Some woodlice. But now we're looking closer at them, and we're like, actually, that's really cool.
And as a isopod hobby has grown, certainly in the UK and then around the world, it's got more attention, and suddenly people are going, oh, there's monetary value to these things. Suddenly it's, oh, let's go out and get them all.
Yeah. That's what it seems to be happening. There's lots of scammers I find in groups as well. People offering to sell these really rare and expensive isopods, and they haven't got them. They're telling you pay X amount of money into this bank account. You've just got to be a bit careful.
Yeah, definitely see that. I know. Well, shop owner, but actually, I got my first Panda Kings and my rubber duckies off. He was offered. I can't remember what species he said it was now. Well, he may have gone what species anyway, but offered some species, from Thailand, direct from Thailand, at like 200 quid each. So per isopod.
I've seen some similar.
It's not worth. It's not worth the risk. I can't afford that. I need at least 10. I don't think.
Exactly.
And even then, you probably end up with half of them perhaps dying en route or whatever. Even if they were, if it was a legit, a legit sale kind of thing. It's like
you're spending that kind of money. It's almost worth paying a visit over there first, isn't it?
Yeah, actually see them and be like, right, how are you actually going to send these out? What's the plan and stuff? But just like some of it is super. Some of them super expensive and stuff, and certainly, but you see, various pages in Southeast Asia and stuff, like all the various spiky ones and stuff, like ones that just look like complete, like the punk rockers of the isopod world covered in spikes. So I was like, that's insane.
Yeah, they're really, really small. They're tiny little things, and some of them are arboreal as well. So it's an entirely different setup to what we're keeping them in at the moment. I've seen people keep them in sort of tall, thin tubs with upright sticks, but they're so small. You've got to be careful not to give them anything too big, because you need to monitor them. If you put 10 in huge enclosure, you're never going to know if they're all dead. You need to be able to monitor them as well. One thing I will say that's changed the face of the hobby in this country, I think, is before Brexit, we could just bring stuff in quite easily. Since Brexit, bringing stuff in, I mean, I was shipping a lot of isopods out to France and Spain, Norway, places like that in the early days when we first started. And then since Brexit, we literally just do UK only. We don't ship anywhere else apart from the UK now, which has been a double-edged sword because it means it's really difficult to get new stuff that's not already in the hobby. But then for our business, it's been really good because it's also meant that people aren't buying from abroad. They've been buying from local, which is better for us. But obviously, there's a lot of species I still want to keep.
Yeah,
it's very difficult to try and obtain them now. So you got to look at. We were looking at going over to Germany. I think perhaps this year we've got some breeder friends over in Germany. So towards the tail end of the summer, I think we'll be looking at going over and hopefully, if it's a good year, bringing back as many sort of things that aren't already over here and try and bring some of them into culture. Yeah, sort of expand the range that's available within the UK. But Brexit definitely played a major part in sort of the shape of the hobby, I think.
Yeah, and I think it has for basically every invert hobby.
Yeah.
All the invert,
plants, plants as well. Plants now to bring in plants, they need a phytosanitary certificate, which is really costly. Unless you're bringing in a large order, really costly, and the same going out when it's really, really expensive. So it kept a lot of plants in house again, which is quite nice. And we tend to stay away. I grow a lot of, clues in the name, micro exotics. We try to grow a lot of the really small, delicate stuff that's ideal for bottle terrariums and small dark frog tanks, stuff like that. So we grow a lot of margravias, and there's been a big boom in the houseplant world over the past few years, and lots of people want
definitely has been like they've gone out of fashion, and certainly the past sort of 3 years or so they've really, really boomed in popularity again, and little mini terrariums. I mean, I've even started making little mini terrariums and stuff, and you see a lot of there's a lot of social media on mini terrariums and doing like things out, out of jars and glasses and stuff.
You can turn anything into a terrarium. That's sort of what started the website for me. Like early days, I was it's gonna make you laugh. I didn't have any money when we first started up, and I was trying to build a website and I was trying to make money to buy like my initial stock, and I didn't want to get a loan out or anything like that. So I was going through the recycling of a block of flats near me, and I was taking all like the fancy Kraken bottles and stuff like that. And then I was going to the woods and I was collecting all my moss and my ferns and stuff, and we were literally making free terrariums and selling them for like £10-15 each. And because I was working, I didn't need any of the money I was making from the side business, and I was able just to keep pouring it back into micro exotics and buying more stuff, like more grow lights and more mother plants and more tubs and different products to sell on the website. And as it grew, we just kept putting the money back in and kept putting the money back in. And yeah, I'm at a point now where I can take some money out of it and not have to go to work, hopefully. So it means I can then put more time into it, and we can just keep further and grow it. But I want to be doing a lot more. I want to be making a lot more terrariums, because that's something I really, really enjoy. I want to be growing a lot more plants. I want to be breeding a lot more isopods, and we want to be doing a lot more shows. We want to be coming out and talking to people about what we love doing. So that means plant shows and invert shows. I don't think I'll make it as far up as the likes of Doncaster and things like that. At least not for another couple.
That one's not up in Doncaster anymore. It's now down in Milton Keynes this year.
Oh, that's a little bit closer.
For the big reptile shows now, for this year it's in Milton Keynes.
Is it still twice a year or just once?
Twice a year. It was 4 times a year. Now it's twice a year.
Oh, that might be worth making a visit then.
Sort of thing for the the big reptile show. But there's invert shows, up and down the country and stuff, and where again, you're starting to see more and more. I was at one at the weekend and took a load of mini terrariums, sort of in case anyone was interested, kind of thing. So because it's all become it's quite a relaxing thing to do. Just sit there and make a little mini terrarium.
It's great. It's absolutely one of my favourite things to do, and I find something I don't have a lot of time for now, because micro exotics and my job have sort of consumed all my time.
Yep.
Now, much time to do the bit that I really set out to do from the start. So hopefully we can do a bit more of that in the future, especially here in Cornwall, where we got a lot of tourist places, and I've been speaking to a lot of shops over the past few months about showing them, because I still make terrariums for myself and I still make them and sell a few on Facebook Marketplace. Issue has always been shipping them. You can't ship a glass terrarium that's fully planted. I've tried. It's impossible. I even tried blowing a balloon up in one, and the customer would then pop the balloon when it arrived, and it just didn't work. It's only got to get turned upside down once, and it's ruined. So that's why I do more of the equipment and the kits.
Cheers, Jackson. Jackson's just bought still drilling holes.
Before we go, I want to show you something cool that we've been working on. Me and do you know Tom from Exotic Empire?
Yes.
Right, so me and Tom have been coming up with this, and Tom's designed this event. If you can see it.
This one on full. Oh yeah.
Right. So how it works is you screw it apart, you drill your hole, and it clips neatly over your hole and screws back on.
Nice.
It's completely 3D printed. It's all one piece. The holes are fruit fly proof as well. They're too small for fruit flies to get out. You can literally, with this, you can turn any plastic tub into an enclosure. So I'm hoping Tom's managed to print enough of these out, and I should be bringing a load of them to the show next weekend.
That's cool.
They are a little bit pricier than building your own, but that's just the nature of 3D printing. But they are sturdy and they're really cool. You can literally turn anything into an enclosure.
That's really, really cool. Because do they keep out things like forward flies as well? I'm guessing they would do if they keep out fruit
The
flies.
holes are really small. Let me put my finger.
Nice.
And also, what you could do if you're still worried about that is take a piece of net curtain or fly mesh, and before you screw it, place it in, and you'd screw that over, and it will act as a double layer vent. It came out of a need because I'll show you one of my biggest problems in my invert room. I've learned to live with it, but some people won't like it.
Oh, the fly paper. Yep.
I've just learned to live with it. I change this fly paper every couple of weeks. I just learned to live with it, but because it's in my hat, this is in my house. I would
just notice snap on the glass. We've got to wrap the glass. That was unplanned of us drinking out the same glass. But
formal way, you got a drink rattler.
Unfortunately, this is not Rattler in here at the moment, but Rattler is probably my up there as one of my favourite ciders, definitely. so, no, that's cool because I think ventilation is something that I think sometimes people get wrong sometimes with certain isopods. Definitely, they sometimes don't ventilate enough for them. I know, or too much sometimes. So just I know. Was it Russ of Grandmax Pets? He often says about like people, he goes like, "What's your ventilation like?"
Yeah, it's my ventilation. This is why the need for this vent has come out because when I started out, I vent my tubs like that.
Yep.
And I'm clumsy, and lazy. If I'm honest.
And a lot of people do. What a lot of people do is just a solder and iron just through the side.
Yeah, and the good thing about that is you can adjust it quite easily. Once you've done too much, you've done too much. But if you haven't done enough, you can add holes in easy. I found the Porcelio, they have a lot of ventilation on both sides, whereas my Cubaris don't have as much. So, for example, if I was just to show you my smaller Cubaris tubs, they have 4 holes.
Oh yeah, right at the top, yeah.
That's it, and that's on both sides to create a bit of cross ventilation, and that's it. But I'm a bit of a stickler for uniformity. I like everything to look nice and neat, and I don't like looking at my own tubs because the idea behind these is you simply drill one hole and it screws on through the plastic, and you'd have one either side, and there's your bed. It looks neat. We're getting these done black as well because it looks nice and neat. You've got all your tubs like that. I think it looks quite smart.
Yeah, definitely. I think and that was something that'd be great for a lot of things, millipedes as well, and like I say, for people that like things to look neater and stuff as well.
Screw this through glass. If you had a good glass drill the right size hole, you could probably screw that over glass as well. Make a nice bend. But you can see a lunchbox in Canada or Wilco's next. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's cool. So, I've currently got a cricket that's calling, Diana, so it's probably my cricket you can hear. It's good because they're fresh today. Literally straight from the wholesaler, straight to mine. So, Jackson's round is getting close to 1K subs. That's pretty awesome. That is awesome, Jackson. So you see, I just put that he likes those vents. So I think yeah, that'll be really. I might have to get a couple of those to see. Oh, we're going.
So Steph, these are not my design. These are Tom from Exotic Empire. We've just been working together, to and throwing ideas. But Tom has designed this. Tom's made these. They are his product. I'm going to be stocking them. But if you want them, I'll have some at the show. But contact Tom at Exotic Empire, and he's making these. They are really cool.
Yeah, and Tom's fantastic as well. I've got my orange stringtails from Tom.
Yeah, he's a top lad, is Tom. We've been swapping bits for years now. He's a nice guy.
Yeah,
he works hard. He's got a full-time
we're
job.
also in, we're both in a little Facebook chat on scorpions, so scorpion breeding and IDing and stuff. That's how, because he does a fair amount with scorpions as well.
He's done really well with the emerald roaches this year as well. He's really done well with the emerald roaches. Something me and Tom both got on an import not that long ago, last year. Something we're still not seeing very many of. I'm going to have to be really quick when I do this because it's fast as fuck. We got some sapphire roaches.
Oh, you got the sapphires, nice. I've got
the
emeralds doing really well.
Actually breeding. The thing is, the mancate, the young roaches are so ridiculously small. I won't even be able to zoom my camera in, but there's that's Frath from one there. The thing with them, it's only the adult that's blue.
Yep.
Up until final molt, they look like a Dubai roach, but really small. But I'll see if I can find. I definitely know there's some adults in here because. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There's a female there. And they burrow. That's the other thing. You bugger. I lost that.
But they're definitely a very cool looking roach. I say of all the roaches that I currently keep and breed are my emeralds. But these guys are look at that.
And they are an iridescent sort of blue. She's a bit dirty at the moment. She's covered in a bit of dirt there, so she doesn't look quite as nice. But the females have like these little orange flanks at the bottom.
Yeah,
probably can't make them out. But yeah, it's nice to see that they're doing really well actually. So might be able to offer them maybe next year. It should be great.
I'll keep my eye out on when you do start offering those out.
But these are some of the babies that were bred from the last generation of adults, and they're now coming up. They're almost probably coming up for a final molt. That's as big as they get, really. So that's not gone blue yet. That once it's had its final shed in its last instar and goes blue, it'd be nice. But there are lots of smaller babies in there. When I say small, they're probably a millimeter, if that. Yep. And they burrow, so they're really hard to spot through the enclosure.
So, Race is one. Yeah, certainly favourite of mine, and the emeralds. The emeralds are just stunning.
Yeah, they're great species. I've had mixed success with them, but I know I've got some adults. Tom's sending me some more males actually because all my males have died, and my females have got no loving. So we've got lots of nymphs in there. I think the thing with them is they just climb everything, no matter how smooth it is. They climb it.
Oh yeah, they climb everything.
I left the lid slightly ajar a couple of months back, and I must have found 15 nymphs over a few days, all on the ceiling. They just seemed to have got out and climbed as high as they could, and they were on.
Yep.
They were on the edges of the isopod tubs, on the shelves. It was a nightmare. I was there, standing on a chair, trying to get them off the ceiling.
Even when they're tiny, they've got such grip on anything that they're clinging onto. It's like they just grip on, like you just can't. It can be difficult to get them off sometimes.
What do you feed yours, Phil? Just out of curiosity.
A lot of bee pollen.
Yeah, same. Bit of banana,
Yeah,
bit of banana.
a lot of bee pollen. I find mine. I give them banana every now and then. If I've got a little bit like left over from doing my fruit beetles, I find they never really go for it. Mine love apple. So I put like a slice of apple in that disappears. Stuff, and then
I'll have to give that a go. Apple. Yeah.
and mine will also go for sweet potato and occasionally a bit of carrot. They'll go for the carrot every now and then, and and then I also sprinkle in fish flake.
Oh, fish. Yeah, we do a lot of bee pollen. They go to town.
Yeah, they love the bit. And I found mine preferred powdered bee pollen initially, and then they transitioned and then started liking the granules more than the powder and stuff. I give them like probably like a milk bottle cap of bee pollen like twice a week.
Milk bottle cap. That's a good idea. So it goes mouldy what they don't eat quite quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can do. Yeah. Well, I just find milk bottle cap just filled with some bee pollen granules, and it's gone within like a day or two.
That's a good
sort
idea.
of thing. Like you just see them come out at night, or early evening, go over to the bottle cap and just all take their individual granule of bee pollen away. Sort of thing. So they're like, this is mine. I'm eating this. So, but yeah, they're absolutely fantastic, and I think what's really nice about them is the fact that the adult females and even the slightly sub-adult females will carry the nymphs around and stuff underneath them and stuff like. You turn up.
Oh, I when they had nymphs last, and I remember poking the female. The female would run off, and the nymphs would just run back underneath her, like from quite a distance as well. They would track her, right back underneath. It's really quite cool to watch.
Really cool to see. Like people don't think of maternal care in invertebrates often, especially like within cockroaches, and it's like they have maternal care.
Isopods too. You'll be really surprised to see like Hoffman Segi. I've seen them dig a burrow and have their babies, and they will sort of sit there and guard the babies in the little burrow that they've made. It's quite impressive to watch.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, again, like my last, I need to post a picture up on my Instagram at some point. But the other day, doing my isopod sort of servicing and stuff, and Malem Blues had a new brood of Manco and stuff. And as soon as the servant was like got the picture, they started going back underneath the adult and the female. Like, oh no, disturbed. So. Where's your actually? Transfer Ricky Matt. He's asked, do all isopods love bee pollen?
No, I don't think they all love bee pollen. It's good to offer a varied diet, but I think with isopods, less is more because mold is going to appear quite quick in the setup. So what I do when I feed, is I normally feed everything on a Thursday. So that will consist of a bit of veg, and a bit of protein. Protein I cycle through. We use koi fish pellets, dried shrimp, dried fish. Bee pollen is the rarest one I would give. Probably give bee pollen maybe once every 2 months. And this would just be once a week. We'll offer protein, and then we'll go back again through on Sunday, which is packing day. So when we pack all the bugs up for Monday's delivery, I'll go through and I will take out the old uneaten veg, so it's only in there 48 hours. And if I put too much protein in, you'll already start seeing it mold. So we'll just pick that back out straight away.
Yep.
Their primary diet is rotting wood and leaves, and that should always be available to them all the time. The rest is. The other thing I stress is a calcium source. One of the greatest things about isopods is how much they will eat the cuttlefish. They will literally turn it into their home. So that is a normal cuttlefish. You can see it's convex. They've eaten all of it. You see that? It shouldn't go in like that. It should go the other way. They've eaten everything apart from the membrane at the back. Almost like a dish.
That's cool. That's cool.
Now, yeah, you can see the contours in this one that they've dug out. Because I keep that in them at all times, cuttlefish. And also, once they've eaten it all, you can stack it up and it makes a pretty good hide.
So Lugo amylophilus is what any feeder crickets that die, he feeds them to his protein hungry isopods, and they love them.
Yeah, that's another one. We've used fried mealworms, fried fish, another one just for quite buy in bulk. There was skeleton. Most people eat skeleton. They will eat skeleton as well. It's nice. That would do. I wouldn't recommend that on a regular basis. It was like a one-off. I wouldn't make colonies start to protein. Shrimp are good, river shrimp, because there's a lot of calcium as well in the shell.
Yeah.
They're quite a good feed source. And my favourite, the two favourite vegetables I found that my colonies like, butternut squash. And the butternut squash is you can cut it in a way that's left with the skin on the outside, and if you place the skin down on the substrate, so the flesh of the butternut squash is pointing up with a layer of skin touching the substrate, it doesn't mould as quick. Whereas if you have the flesh of the vegetable touching the substrate, it molds really quick. You can normally use the skin as like a barrier.
Little barrier to it.
I think it buys you like an extra day before it goes mouldy.
Like John, cheers, mate. So yeah, I think I first tried butternut squash where I gave them mine once. Just little bits of pumpkin, if I had pumpkin for everything, over Halloween and stuff. I was like, I haven't tried this with my isopods. I'll put a bit in, and like a Panda Kings ate everything of it, just rinse through it.
Yeah,
like this, even the skin wasn't left, kind of thing. And I was like, I was like, okay, they like that. I'll try some butternut, and they all love a bit of butternut.
Yeah, butternut's fantastic, and courgette's a good one, and they like the skin of the courgette more than they like.
Yeah.
Cucumber's a good one for if you need to move stuff out, because they'll go for the cucumber quite quick. Put it in, it just molds really fast. But you do a tub change, and you've got out as many as you think you can. Put a few slices of cucumber in, come back in a couple of hours, and then most of them would have congregated on the cucumber. You can take out. It's also really good for removing mites. If you have a mite problem, place a piece of cucumber in the enclosure. The mites will congregate on the cucumber. Take it out, throw it away.
That's a good trick. That's a good tip. Yeah, definitely.
Reducing if you do get a lot of mites.
That's cool. And then in terms of like calcium from what's got cuttlefish. A lot of people use like ground up eggshells. You use that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, that's fine. Another thing that we sell is lime granite or limestone rocks. Really good. Yep. Lots of little to hide in. Limestone, so they'll from that quite a lot. We've also just started stocking, which is on the website this week, limestone chips. So cut pieces of limestone, which you can mix with substrate, will help lower the pitch and just add a sort of calcium. It looks like grit.
Yeah, I use quite a bit of limestone flour, which is obviously just ground up limestone.
Yeah.
And so we use that quite a lot, especially with the Camaris and stuff. Also use and the back guano for them as well.
Yeah, back guano is fantastic. It's also really plant fertilizer as well. Case, there's not dead insects and back guano, maybe a bit of drop fruit or body of a bat. There'll be real opportunity.
Yeah, so yeah, use that I think I first got that actually from you when I done one and got pretty much anything that you said was like good for Cabarrus. I was like, I'll get that sort of thing and give it a go, sort of thing, and it's worked. It does work. So 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 Jackson's probably had a lot of success with them cleaning the orange peels.
Okay, yeah, I've not tried orange before.
Luke's asked, there's some roaches love citrus. I suppose like oranges. I've never tried any kind of citrus with them, but Jackson's poor days has success in cleaning the peels of them.
Is that just the pith that they?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I guess so.
What the white bit don't know.
Rookie's just checked his dairy cows. He's got lots of manco in there. Dairy cows, you're going to get lots. You're going to get lots and lots of in there. They breed quickly.
Yeah, they do.
Just with a little bit of orange left on him, not a lot at all. But that's probably why he has mold in him.
That's another thing I just talk about is mold. When people set up a new setup, it's always going to mold. It's always going to mold, and I've people like panic, throw away that. You have to let it settle. So what I like to do, if I know I'm going to be buying it, I like to have 3 or 4 tubs set already for about 3 or 4 weeks before we had animals. Because as soon as you start putting food into those setups, the mold will just explode. So you allow the setup to sort of mature and settle, and the microflora of the bacteria to build up the beneficial bacteria. When you do start adding animals, it's a bit like fish tank. You want the water to properly
cycle first and
cycle through and allow that bacteria to build up. You don't get as many mold or fungal blooms. It's good practice to have a few tanks set up ready, especially if you're going to be buying something expensive. If you're going to be buying rubber duckies or any of the expensive Cubaris, I highly recommend setting your enclosure up 3 to 4 weeks before you pick up and put springtails in.
Yeah, springtail's always good to add in with pretty much of anything. So they do a fantastic job of for that cycle going on. I think that's where a lot of people sometimes go wrong. They don't realise that when setting up like a live planted enclosure for anything, you put any kind of natural decor on top of slightly moist substrate, it's going to mold. Sort of thing. And it'll always be like, well, how do I stop it? It's like, you've got to let it go through the process. It's all part of the process. And so that's why, I've got a decent sized planted tank now that I've had planted for, 6 months or so, and I haven't put anything actually in there yet.
You still just let the plants grow. Sometimes it's more fun when the plants grow, isn't it?
It's okay. Let the plants grow, and then I'll add stuff in there. And it's just going to be mixed inverts. But it's all like some of the inverts are going to bury and stuff. So it's like, well, I want the roots to be strong before stuff goes burying in amongst them and stuff.
Yeah.
Potentially eating the roots. Sort of thing, because that might happen and stuff. But it's all part of that fun, part of that process.
And you get a few plants that won't take. Won't take, and you'll think, oh, I've got a gap. But no, plants or I've got.
So obviously, you're going to be coming to the tournament show, which is on the 26th of this month, I believe.
Yep. Come in one.
You said you plan on bringing a fair number of species that are available there.
Yeah, I'm even saving a few bits back from the website, but I'm not going to be. So I've got some to take to the show, so I won't be listing them all on the website. Even if they were to sell all this week, I would still be taking some back to bring to the show. I'm going to be doing probably the best prices in the UK on some of the species that we're doing really well with. I'm also old school, so I'll barter. There's something on the list. If you don't like the price, offer me something. Or come. I'm bringing everything that I bring in. I want to sell it. I don't want to bring it. So, especially towards the end of the day, if you see something that you like and it's still on the table, just come over. Just say, I'll give you X for that. And chances are, I'm going to come back with another price and we'll barter, and then you can walk away with it. And neither of us will be happy with what we sold it for.
But again, it's all part of the fun.
Exactly, it's all part of the fun. We go for just sort of meet more like-minded people. It's nice to be in. I really enjoy the live show. See a lot of faces of people that I haven't seen in a long time because I used to keep. I've kept reptiles like my whole life, but now that I keep bugs, don't tend many people as I used to when I kept reptiles. So it's nice to catch up with old faces at the shows.
I think that's shows. That's sort of everyone thinks that shows are just there just to either sell or buy, but good half of it, if not sometimes more, is a social aspect of it. So we're just chatting to like-minded people that keep stuff, whether they keep what you keep or not. It's about the fact that actually everyone, pretty much everyone in this room likes inverts, kind of thing, and stuff, and that so you got something in common with however many people are there, regardless of what each other keeps and stuff, and might get someone who's perhaps never kept an isopod before and go, well, actually, have you seen these guys? They might go, well, actually, they look really cool. And that's then how it all starts. I mean, it's how it started for me. Years and years ago, when again you could only get maybe 5-7 species that were really available. One of them being the maculatum zebras and stuff. And I was sort of like, they were the species that got me into it and stuff. And couldn't really get. I think it was from Graham and Janice Smith Metamorphosis at the time. And so they were just sort of like, right, now keep an isopod, and just gave me, a little sort of, sort of 10 to 20 maculatum. Like, there you go, now keep an isopods and stuff, and kind of went from there. And I was like, okay, these are actually really cool. So, you still get sometimes, people go, you spent how much on an isopod? Sort of thing when you start, delving into the more expensive species.
I don't tell people how much they cost.
And some people look at you a little bit weird, but it's one of those things. We look at people weird if they spend, that sort of money on, some stereo system for their car or whatever, or
clothes sort of thing.
You spend that, stuff and just completely around. It's like all into different things. This is what I'm into, sort of thing. What I'm going to spend my money on. So, that's a good one. So it's just for in a few years from now, do you see the prices of the higher end isopods dropping much or not at all?
Yes. Yeah, they'll drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, people think it's success with it. It's the same with anything. Peaks and troughs. What tends to happen? No one's breeding them. The price is really high. Everybody starts to breed them. The price drops because people compete to sell them. What will happen? And the price will drop. They'll hit the floor where they probably won't go any lower. But they 100% will drop. If the demand wasn't so high, if I was struggling to sell, I'd lower the price. But I'm not struggling to sell them. They are selling at that price every time I put them up. So I would love to make them cheaper. I really would. And
I've tried to make my prices as competitive as possible on everything that we sell. If we're doing really well with it, we'll lower the price. Also, I always put extras in. Always put extras in. Every time we send a tub out, there's always more than you pay. It is to cover any losses in shipping, but I'm very confident in the shipping. It's very, very,
I was say yeah, it was. I've had order from you, and it was packaging was absolutely top notch, and you know everything definitely arrived safe and sound. People can find those videos on my channel of me unboxing from you, and it was like you know you couldn't have asked for better.
I lost a parcel last year, going around with Royal Mail for 2 to the Isle of Wight.
Oof.
Quite popular.
So, Callum's asked, "What is your favourite isopod?"
Magnificent Expansus, Porcelio Expansus.
They are a good one.
Yeah, they're just awesome.
On the expanses, someone I know he's fairly prominent within the zoo, environmental zoo sector, and I don't know if you feel this, but he actually went out to look at expanses in the wild, and found that they were eating algae off moss.
Oh wow!
Stuff in the wild.
Oh, that's pretty.
They came back. He gave a whole load to another zookeeper friend of mine. He was sort of like, something there was like hundreds of expanses, and he was like, "Dude, do you know how much like you've given me in terms of money worth?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I'm overrun with them." And he's like, "They just breed too quickly," and stuff. And he's like, "But everyone seems to struggle." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I went out and went and saw them in the wild and had a look, and they were eating literally just algae off the very tips of moss. They were going around munching the algae and stuff. So he started giving them algified moss and stuff. To the point that he was just like, got too many. So I was like, okay.
Wow.
I mean, there was some dedication to go out to see him in the wild to see what they were eating in the wild. But
Yeah.
that's the sort of guy he is.
Many of these species are only being described now because hobbyists are interested in it. We don't know a huge amount about the natural history, what they do eat in the wild, especially some of these newly described Cubara species, which I think when the taxonomists get a real good look at them, we'll find that they're not all Cubara. There's probably, I think they've already identified several different. You've got Nesodillo, Spherodillo. They're all going to be, and Cubara species rubber ducky is just a placeholder. It's not a taxonomic name. It's just a place still been truly identified, and that's the same with all these Cubara species. The taxonomists have really gone into them,
and some of them, we might find, aren't separate species. They're perhaps, just localities or whatever as well, potentially.
Yeah, very much so. Or they could be entirely what we're casting them as.
Yeah. Basically, until someone actually does sort of the DNA work and properly looks at them taxonomically, we're not going to know, kind of thing. But yeah, because which one is it the Urosho? Well, that was like at first was like a Cabaris, and now is no longer a Cabaris.
It's Nesodillo now.
Yeah.
Genus or Nesodillo. Again, this
but that's it, yeah. And then I know someone who, I met her anyway at a conference who went out to, she lived on St Helena for a while studying the yellow spiky woodlouse.
Oh wow!
Out on St Helena, which is pretty epic because arboreal one, fluoresce under black light.
I think I was using this book to hold my light up earlier on, and I think maybe
is that by any chance Oren McGonagall's book?
Yeah,
it's a good one. I need to get it because he's done another Isopod one like the other year. I need to get that one as well.
It's a pretty good book, to be fair. Sure, I saw a picture.
The other year he released a second one. Was it Isopod Zoology? Yeah, like
That's cool, isn't it?
it's just awesome, isn't it? And then they fluoresce on the backlight.
Some Cubaris do that too.
Oh, I hadn't heard that one about Cabaris.
Yeah, some Cubaris fluoresce as well on the backlight.
Oh, hey, Vivian. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, well, a friend of mine, just at season, she said she was out there. She went out actually to St Helena to study some of the spiders out there, and was making me jealous by going like, "Oh yeah, I saw some of the yellow spiky woodlice." I was like, "Damn it." I'd love to see them, but I mean, they're not really something that's going to probably ever be suitable to be kept, and also they're not exactly common out there either.
Some of the big American breeders I've seen set really probably a single water droplet would kill you. Okay?
You're breaking up again.
Just a single water droplet could kill the babies of those. I've seen some of the American breeders working on these like micro misting systems, stuff like that. The hobby's got quite a way to go yet, and I think it's here to stay for a while.
I think so too, because it's, although there's been a few of us that kept isopods for many years. Again, the past couple of years, it's started to really boom, and yeah, there's enough people that are into the hobby that are going to be keeping that. Yeah, it's going to advance. There's going to be different things coming, like if it's like much finer misters for the smaller species and stuff, where you don't want to be using a big old pressure sprayer that's gonna just flood them kind of thing really, really quickly.
Yeah,
and stuff, and ones where you want to give just a very, very fine gradient of sort of moisture levels, and so that's all going to come, and and certainly again you see more and more on social media, people, keeping isopods and pushing isopods, and even like large houses, Serpa designed on an isopod enclosure and stuff like that. Well, that pushes isopods straight away there, kind of thing, by someone like him doing a sort of an isopod enclosure.
Yeah, it's gonna go its own way, and I actually think they're a fantastic pet for children.
Yeah.
Obviously not, the really, really expensive rare species, but there's enough of a variety of hardy, easy to look after species that are great for kids to look after. I mean, I remember 4, 5, 10, 12 catching woodlice in the garden when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That's
something. It's one of our first contacts with nature.
Yeah,
is one of our first contacts. It is things like woodlice, frogs, and stuff. But whenever if we do, bug hunts, at my work at the zoo and stuff, one of the things kids are often most excited about finding is an isopod.
I mean,
it's often one of the most exciting things that they find. Doesn't matter what, if they find one, they come, I found a woodlice. Sometimes it's a millipede, but that's fine still. Often they're still cool. Something that age you don't expect them to know the difference. So, but kids absolutely love them, and some they are. That's why I'd agree with you that they probably are really good. Yeah, some of the more hardy species like the and colourful like the clue guy. Really, really, really cool for kids and stuff. And then or some of the active ones like the dairy cows and stuff, where you can see them out and about and stuff, and they're like, oh my god, look at these.
It's also their first. I mean, they're very easy to breed. It's real good. Yeah, everybody knows it's a real good feeling to have bred something that you've not bred before.
Absolutely,
great way to get kids into the hobby, because I love finding babies from a species that I've not bred before. It's always a good day. It's a better day when I've grown them up and they've had babies. But when you first find babies, it's like, yes, happy days. They're happy enough to have had babies. It's always a good day.
Well, Mountain's Garden, cheers for joining. So, yeah, absolutely is. Yeah, the first time you breed something that, whether it's something that's deemed incredibly easy or something that's deemed, the more difficult, it still feels the same. Like, I've managed to breed that one. I've bred that one. Sometimes it's almost worse if like one that's deemed incredibly easy seems for you to take forever to breed. You're like, hey, well, these are meant to be easy. One we're doing wrong, sort of thing. That's almost worse if they seem to take a while.
Oh, I've got a few species like that. Yeah, that haven't done anything. But swings and roundabouts. You just have to try a new method, or patience is the one that people don't have. I think when keep animals, is some people don't have a lot of patience. And why aren't they breeding? A lot of the species are seasonal. They won't breed. It's not the right time of year. I am going to have to shoot in a minute, mate. My battery is going to die very shortly.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, we're almost at 10 anyway, so I'll be probably stopping the stream at 10 anyway.
Yeah, no, well, I think it should last. I think I'm just holding my phone. Red hot.
There you go. What we'll do, we'll get in if anyone's got any kind of last sort of few questions for Adam. Obviously, everyone coming to the tournament show, I'll be there. Adam will be there. Go over and do go and have a chat with Adam about isopods and stuff, and buy some isopods.
Yeah, come and say hi. Definitely.
I'll definitely be checking your stand out for more. I've got more at the weekend because I got more Bolivari to go in with my group and stuff. There's some there's always new species I'm after, but there's also ones I'm after just to add into my ones, just to add new blood into them and stuff. So I am after more rubber duckies to go in my ones, sort of thing, just to bolster the group up a little bit. They've been breeding, but
I'll have something on my stall that will take your fancy.
Chances I will be. So, Lisa unfortunately loves her clowns. They're so active and pretty. Yeah,
they're great.
You guys are just fantastic.
And let's say there's quite a few localities of Klugai.
Yeah.
And before you go, I should show you something that I've been working on with the Klugai.
Everyone has the modern Negro, which I have, but he also got, was it Slano, Dubrovnik?
Pudding.
Yep.
Another one. And this, I believe there's a couple more. Now, this is something I've been working on. This is a new morph of Armadillidium Cargos Slano. Why is that doing that? The light's not working now. These are cool. Right, so we've managed to separate 9 individuals out from the group. I'm going to have to try and find some of them some light. And there are offspring in here. I don't actually know what to call these yet.
Cool, so it's a bit of an exclusive then of a brand new morph.
Well, I've not seen them available anywhere. It's not going to hold still, and it's not going to zoom in. Can you get a good enough?
Oop.
That's really bug. Sorry, I was trying to trace him. He's running away. You can't make out the definition on the back, can you?
Not quite. So, is it sort of very mottled?
It's very mottled, yeah. It's almost, I don't know. Not quite pied. Almost like it's got a cloudy, the colours are just bleeding into cloud on the back. But it's still got an orange skirt, which has got a white fringe around it.
Well, hey, Thomas. Well, we'll get back to you, Thomas, at some point. I'll try and do that tonight.
But yeah, that's just something we were working on. Hopefully, we might be able to prove that out. We'll have some of them available next year, maybe.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. There was a couple of questions. Philip Fish asked, "What's the rarest isopod in the world, and would you like some?"
I think there are lots of iPods, and I would wager there's still hundreds, if not thousands. Or cooler ones we think are cool now. There's probably some cooler ones out there.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
being small as well, a whole population of one species or one locality or whatever can be, not even the size of your living room, can be the whole habitat of potentially a species.
Yeah, well, they could have got into an underground cave system that's never been explored. Yeah. There's possibilities for them are quite endless because they are quite versatile and adaptable. And I tell you what's really cool, some of the marine isopods are actually quite interesting. I was lucky enough, I was at the Falmouth Maritime Museum not so long ago, and they had some of the giant marine isopods, which are known to feed on whale carcasses. If you've not seen one, I'll give a Google search or have a look on my Instagram page, and I've got my hand against it, and it's fucking huge.
Yeah, no, they're pretty good. At the show on Saturday, the an exhibition up in Sheffield, someone just had on display that sea slaters.
Oh, cool.
that she just keeps in a tub in a garden.
Oh, fair enough.
Sort of thing, and just goes to the beach to get some seawater and get some out, some seaweed and stuff to stick in there for them, and she's hoping to breed them. Sort of thing.
Oh, interesting.
Which is not something you don't necessarily see all the time. Certainly not in terms of like in captivity.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Oh, least thing, I'm guessing she's suggesting the name Cloudy Dusks for that.
I like it. We have to put it to a vote when we manage to prove it out, or if we can manage to prove it out. But there's definitely Mankey in there. They're too small to tell if they've got the same pattern yet because they're still white. But a couple of months we should be able to tell whether they're carrying the gene, or it might be recessive. We might have to breed those back to the parents to prove it out. But luckily we can get them up to size within sort of 6 to 9 months, so it can be done within a couple of years. Whereas if you were trying to breed royal pythons with a new gene, it will take you 4 years to get your first adult up to size. Then you've got to breed them. Then you've got to raise them babies up for another 4 years before you can potentially see the results of your hard work. So that's what I like about isopods, is you can do a lot with them in a short space of time, relatively speaking.
What speech of us would make Kathy get his wife go, "Oh, they're cool," that he wouldn't kill?
I don't know Kathy personally, but come to my stall at Taunton and we'll have a look.
Because are you going to Taunton, aren't you, Matt? I'm pretty sure he is. So go and have a look at the stall. But go on, just put your links back in the chat again, so everyone go over, check out the website, check out the Facebook page and the Instagram page. One thing you just post out on Mondays at the moment.
Yes, yeah. I work full time still. So what we do is we collect all the orders up for a week and then we send them on a Monday. So I ask everyone to read the terms and conditions before ordering. I have plastered it all over the website, and I still get people who order on Friday and ring me on Saturday, say, "Why hasn't my order arrived?" I ordered next day delivery. Like most invert suppliers, next day delivery does not mean next day delivery. It means us to get the animal to you in the quickest, shortest possible time. We're not Amazon. We don't literally get an order and pack it and walk to the post.
Whether it comes into play if it gets too cold or too hot.
Exactly.
You've got the animal's best interests in there, and you don't want to be sending them out on a Friday where they're just going to get lost over the weekend in the post and stuff. That's that's not the case. And I mean, as you know, it's very clear on your website when you go onto your website. It clearly says ship out Mondays.
It's also really clear that we don't ship outside the UK, and you will be shocked at how many orders from America and Norway and Europe that I still get all of the time. But yeah, sometimes people just don't read. But I'll help anyone. I will help anyone, and I will speak to anyone nicely. But if you ring me up swearing, saying that your order hasn't arrived, you will get an immediate refund, and I will hang the phone up.
Yeah, no, I think pretty much all of us here would go, yeah, there's no need to put up with that kind of thing.
Yeah, but so we've had it a couple of times. I mean, quite luckily, I've sent over 2,000 orders out now since we opened, and we've not received one bad review. I had one guy phone me up swearing because he hadn't read the website, that he'd paid for next day delivery and it hadn't arrived next day. I referred him back to the website. He then actually emailed me an apology, and he kept his order in, and he was quite happy afterwards. So far we've not had any bad reviews. We've had a couple of DOAs arrive, mainly due to Royal Mail or weather, failed heat pack, stuff like that, but no bad reviews. Everyone's been happy so far. So yeah, let's hopefully we can continue our good streak.
Absolutely. Susan must say that she is old. When you said you have a nearly 5-year-old, that she nearly fell off her chair. She thought you was 13-ish. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm 36. Yeah, I'm 34. Sorry, 36. I'm 34. I've got a 4-year-old who's 4 last weekend. But yeah, I'm 34. It's because I can't grow a beard like you, Phil. That's the problem.
We're like the same age, but they're very different.
Yeah.
That's cool. I think Callum's put in an order tonight.
Good man.
He's going to message you saying, "Hey, where's his order?"
Tell him to be ready for a refund. On a note, actually, next week I will be shipping on Monday. Then I will be shipping again on Thursday, and then that'll be it. I'll close for the entire weekend at the show, and then I will reopen again on the Monday to ship the following week. So just so people know, it's impossible for me to try and keep track of what I've taken to the show and what I'm selling on the website at the same time. So I'll need to shut for that.
Again, I think hopefully most people kind of expect that, because you see that with a lot of traders. Venomous Visions always shut their online store. I think Portsmouth Transfers do. So enough do that. Hopefully most people expect.
Yeah, I think
going on. When it's just you. Yeah, you can't do both at the same time.
No, that's not, and it's really difficult when you've got live animals and breeding stock and stuff like that. It's really difficult to keep track sometimes of the numbers of what you've got until you've actually taken a load out and you think, oh, hold up, I should probably stop selling them for a little bit. So depending on what we sell at the show, obviously I'll come back on the Monday. I'll re-update the stock list on a Monday, and then we'll reopen after the show. But yeah, it's so hard trying to judge a moving target, because I could sell something that I've got with me at the show and then I've got to take it off the table, by which point I've already sold it at the show. So it's just too many moving parts.
So then one last question from Karen is, are you going to be sending mystery boxes at the show?
Yes, I'm going to be doing £25 mystery boxes and £50 mystery boxes, and one of the £50 mystery boxes will have 200 quid's worth of stuff in it.
I'm getting that mystery box.
But that's what's in the box. There's also going to be a big sign on my table. One thing I won't do is refunds after you've left the table. So I had someone at the last show buy a few bits off me, and I knew what was in the tub, and he went and took some out of the tub and then tried to bring it back to tell me that they weren't all in the tub. So if you don't check your purchase before you leave the table, that's on you. So I'm a trustworthy guy. What's in the tub will be in the tub, but check it. I'll show it to you before you walk away. I'm going to pack things a little bit differently this time around. Normally, I pack to ship, so we pack substrate and leaves. You can't really see the isopod, so I think I'm going to do a little bit of substrate, and I'm just going to use egg
crate, so it's very easy for me just to show you what's in the tub instead of having to dig around and root around for everything. It's also a lot easier to unpackage everything when I get home, so we're going to just be doing that, I think, this time around. Because I'm not packing to ship; I'm just packing to display, sell, and then bring home. So we're going to do a little bit. It's easier for you guys to see what you're buying.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. Cool. Right. Well, before your phone dies,
Got like 1% there. 30. Oh no, it's got 13%. That's all good.
Cheers for joining. We'll have to have you on again at some point.
Yeah, pleasure, Phil. Pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you next weekend. And anybody else who's coming over to say hello.
There's a few people that will come. Hopefully, plenty of people will come and stop by your stand. Might be a few fights for mystery boxes.
Yeah, one of them I'm going to put 200 quid worth of stuff in. I'm probably going to bring about 8, and then one of them will be a super good one. So yeah,
that's cool. Cool. Well, cheers for joining everyone that's in chat. Scott's live tomorrow with an open mic night, Valentine's Day, all that kind of thing. So hopefully everyone has a good day tomorrow if they do celebrate it, or if you don't. But yeah, again, thanks Aaron for coming on. Everyone go and check Micro Exotics out on various social media. Other than that, we'll see you again soon. Hey,
Nice one. Cheers, Phil. Thanks again, guys.